Well, speaking of the United States, another big development that's taking place there is Nicolas Maduro, the ousted Venezuelan leader. His wife are all set to be arraigned on drug trafficking and other charges in a New York court. Both were escorted off a helicopter in downtown Manhattan. There was heavy security. They're both set to face charges, including that of narco-terrorism and conspiracy to import cocaine. Their capture in a U.S. commando raid on Saturday followed a months-long campaign by the Trump administration to drive out the autocratic leader. So Nicolas Maduro is now in court. What comes next? That's the big question, really. And how is the United States going to defend this? Leigh Waldman of the CNN is joining us here and getting us all the latest. Thank you so much for joining us and getting us more details of what exactly is transpiring in that New York court. How is it that the United States is actually going to defend how it all unfolded? What are the kind of charges that they're going to bring about?
Well, we know at this point the ousted Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife, Celia Flores, are facing a slew of drugs and weapons charges, all of this dating from a 15-year investigation laid out by the Department of Justice into criminal drug trafficking. Maduro specifically is facing 4 counts: narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and possession and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. His wife is facing similar charges there. Now, today is just the initial court appearance. We know that Maduro and Flores were taken from the detention center they were being held at in Brooklyn via helicopter and then motorcade to this courthouse that is behind us now. There's no cameras allowed inside, but we do have reporters who will be there to listen in on everything. But the initial appearance itself, we're not expecting to learn very much. The prosecutors could lay out some of the evidence that's been collected. We could hear from the defense in laying out what arguments and motions they plan to challenge the government's case with here. But usually these initial appearances move rather quickly. And this is just the first step in what's expected to be a years-long persecution of this couple.
So what comes next? If you could just give a sense to our viewers here in India as well. Legally speaking, like you said, this is just a preliminary hearing of sorts and not much might actually come out of it. So what happens next?
Well, at this point, we're expecting to hear from the judge who is overseeing this case. And we should keep in mind that this judge has been overseeing this case specifically for 10 years. He's an expert on this. Maduro has been listed as the defendant for the last 6 years in the indictment that was unsealed by the Department of Justice on Saturday. The judge could order that the couple be held in detention until this actually goes to a trial. We're expecting the judge to make a decision on that. We could also hear from the couple offering up a not guilty plea, which is what we're anticipating. But there's a lot of unanswered questions still going into this initial appearance that we're hoping to have answered in just a matter of hours now when it actually gets started.
Absolutely, we are standing by for that. But speaking of this fight that the United States has against Venezuela, I want to ask you this. Just after this, over the weekend, President Trump also came out and warned of a potential second strike. Do you think that's in the offing, even as this legal battle with Nicolas Maduro and his wife continues in the U.S.?
Well, I think the biggest overarching question here, Poonam, is about who is actually running the country of Venezuela at this point. Donald Trump, the president here, has said that the U.S. will run the country and will take over the oil reserves present in the country. Secretary of State Marco Rubio offered a little bit of clarification, saying it's actually more so the policy that they're going to be running. But then we heard from the president later on Sunday saying that no, the U.S. will take control of the country. They've signaled that they would like to work with Maduro's former vice president and now acting president of the country, Delcy Rodriguez. And Rodriguez initially was saying that she was demanding that Maduro and his wife be released back to the country. But now she has seemed to soften a bit, signaling that she would be open to working with the U.S. But we also have to keep in mind there is opposition in the country. There's an opposition leader in the country who President Donald Trump has said does not have the support, that most of the opposition is out of the country itself. So we're just waiting here to see what develops in the coming weeks, days, months.
Well, we'll see what happens in the near future, and of course this entire scenario and how it's going to have an impact on Venezuela and on the rest of the world as well. Leigh Waldman, thank you so much for joining us here.